What would you do if you suddenly couldn't take care of yourself? Would you rush into a nursing home, or would you try something different? Aging is inevitable, but how we face it doesn't have to follow a one-size-fits-all approach. While many people think of a nursing home as the go-to option when independence starts to slip away, that's not always the best or the only choice. In today's video, we're diving into 6 inspiring stories of older individuals who took a different path and found new ways to live life on their own terms. From adventurous retirees to tech-savvy grandmas, each of these stories will show you that with a little creativity and support, you can maintain your independence, purpose, and joy, no matter your age. So, let's explore why the nursing home might not be your first stop and what other possibilities could lie ahead. Stick around, because you won't want to miss these life lessons. Story 1. The Independent Grandpa. Meet Grandpa Joe, a spirited 85-year-old with a heart full of energy and a mindset on independence. For as long as his family can remember, Joe has been an active man, always up before sunrise for his daily morning walks, tending to his garden, and enjoying his quiet afternoons with a good book. But as time passed, Joe's family began to worry. His health wasn't what it used to be, and they suggested he move into a nursing home where he'd have round-the-clock care. But Grandpa Joe wasn't having it. He knew his limitations, but he wasn't ready to give up the life he'd built. He loved his morning walks around his neighborhood, the familiar faces at the local coffee shop, and the comfort of his own home. Despite his family's concerns, Joe insisted he wanted to stay right where he was. He knew that with a little extra help, whether it was the occasional visit from a home care worker or family checking in on him, he could continue living life on his terms. Joe's story teaches us a powerful lesson. Independence is a force that should never be underestimated, no matter your age. Sure, aging can come with challenges, but that doesn't mean you have to surrender your sense of self or your autonomy. Sometimes all it takes is a little support from family, friends, or even a community to help you stay in the place that makes you feel most alive. Grandpa Joe may have needed some extra assistance, but he proved that with the right kind of help, independence is still within reach. It's a reminder that you don't have to rush into a nursing home just because of your age. There are always other options if you're willing to get creative and stay true to your own needs. Story 2. The Surprising Move of a Retired Teacher. Let me introduce you to Mrs. Hargrove, a retired teacher in her 70s who had spent decades shaping young minds in the classroom. When the time came for her to think about her future, she didn't want to be like many of her peers who opted for nursing homes. Instead, Mrs. Hargrove made a bold decision. She moved to a small, vibrant community of retirees, a place that wasn't quite like anything she had imagined before. At first, her family was concerned. They thought she was making a mistake. They didn't quite understand why she wanted to leave the comfort of her old neighborhood for a completely new setting. But fast forward a few months, and Mrs. Hargrove's choice turned out to be one of the best decisions she ever made. Not only did she find a group of like-minded people who shared her interests, but she quickly became an active member of her new community. She started teaching knitting classes, something she had always loved but never had the time for while working full-time. The sense of purpose she found in teaching her fellow residents brought a new energy to her life. Mrs. Hargrove was no longer just surviving, she was thriving. Her story teaches us an important lesson. Finding new communities can bring new energy and purpose into your life. As we age, we may find ourselves facing the temptation to retreat, but Mrs. Hargrove shows us that surrounding yourself with people who understand your needs and share your passions can help you continue to grow. Instead of isolating yourself or settling into a nursing home, look for places where you can connect, contribute, and build new relationships. It's never too late to find a community that brings joy, support, and meaning into your life. Mrs. Hargrove found hers, and now She's living proof that the best years of your life could still be ahead. Story 3. The Adventurer in his 90s. Now, let me tell you about Mr. Thompson, a 92-year-old who is far from slowing down. While most people his age might be content with a quiet life at home, Mr. Thompson decided that wasn't for him. Instead, he chose to live his golden years as an adventurer, traveling the world with his daughter. Whether it was wandering the streets of Paris, hiking through the Italian countryside, or exploring ancient ruins in Greece, Mr. Thompson embraced every opportunity to see the world and experience new things. What's even more inspiring is that Mr. Thompson didn't opt for luxurious cruises or guided tours. No, he chose a more authentic way to travel, staying in small apartments and hotels, immersing himself in local cultures, and experiencing life like a true wanderer. These weren't trips to check off a bucket list. They were real-life adventures he had always dreamed of, but didn't have time for when he was younger. Now at 92, he's making those dreams come true, proving that age is no barrier to living fully. Mr. Thompson's story brings home an important lesson. Age is just a number. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to give up on adventure or new experiences. In fact, many people find that the later years of life offer more freedom and flexibility to explore the world in ways they never could before. Mr. Thompson shows us that it's never too late to seek out excitement, challenge yourself, and create memories. So, whether you're 92 or 32, there's always room for more adventures if you're willing to take that first step. Story 4. The Tech-Savvy Grandma. Let me introduce you to Grandma Ruth, an inspiring woman in her 80s who refused to let age dictate her independence. While she was no longer able to care for herself fully, she had no intention of moving into a nursing home. Instead, Grandma Ruth embraced technology in a way that many people her age might find intimidating. She decided that if she was going to stay in her home, she'd need to adapt, and that's exactly what she did. With a little help from her grandchildren, Grandma Ruth learned how to use smartphones, tablets, and even smart home devices to make her life easier. She set up a voice-controlled system to adjust the lights, lock the doors, and even control the thermostat. When she needed help, she could easily call family members or doctors with a touch of a button. But the real game changer was how technology helped her stay connected with her loved ones. Grandma Ruth used video calls to chat with her family, watch her great-grandchildren grow up virtually, and even participate in family game nights from her living room. Grandma Ruth's story teaches us an important lesson. Technology can be incredibly empowering. Instead of letting age limit her independence, she used the tools at her disposal to maintain control over her life and keep her relationships strong. She showed us that no matter how old you are, technology can be a bridge to the world around you, allowing you to stay engaged, active, and independent. So don't be afraid to embrace technology. It could be the key to living on your own terms, no matter your age. Story 5. The Gardener Who Never Stopped Growing. Let's talk about Mr. Clark, a passionate gardener who at 79 was facing a reality many of us don't want to accept. His body just wasn't able to keep up with the demands of his once sprawling garden. For years, he had cultivated an expansive space filled with flowers, vegetables, and trees, and it was his pride and joy. But as the years passed, the physical labor became more than he could handle, and his family worried he might have to give up his beloved hobby altogether. They assumed that with his health declining, he'd have to let go of the garden. But Mr. Clark had other plans. Instead of abandoning gardening, he chose to downsize. He transformed his large garden into a smaller, more manageable space, focusing on plants that were easier to care for and fit better within his current abilities. His new garden was no less beautiful, just more sustainable. With fewer plants to tend to, he found peace in the simplicity of his work, and his small garden continued to bring him joy and a sense of accomplishment. His family was amazed when they saw how much he thrived with this new approach. Mr. Clark's story reminds us that simplicity can be just as fulfilling. Aging doesn't mean you have to give up what you love. It's about adapting and finding new ways to enjoy the things that bring you joy. Whether it's gardening, painting, or any other hobby, it's possible to continue pursuing your passions without overexerting yourself. By embracing a simpler, more manageable version of his garden, Mr. Clark found that sometimes less really is more, and that aging doesn't mean giving up, it just means adapting to a new chapter in life.
Story 6. The Family Legacy. Now let me tell you about Mildred, an 84-year-old woman who made a decision many people might find surprising. She chose to stay in the house where she had lived for over 50 years. This wasn't just any house. It was the home where she raised her children, hosted family gatherings, and built a lifetime of memories. Despite her age and the challenges that came with it, Mildred couldn't imagine leaving the place that had been the heart of her family for so long. Her children suggested a nursing home, but Mildred wasn't ready to say goodbye to the familiar comfort of her home. Instead of moving to a nursing home, Mildred found a way to make it work. She arranged for family members to check on her regularly, ensuring she had the support she needed without having to leave her beloved home. Whether it was a weekly visit from her daughter or her grandchildren stopping by after school, Mildred was able to maintain the connections that meant so much to her. The walls of her home were filled with generations of memories, and it gave her a sense of security and continuity that no nursing home could provide. Mildred's story teaches us an important lesson. Home is where the heart is. Sometimes the best place for you as you age isn't somewhere new or unfamiliar, but right where you've spent your life, surrounded by the memories and comforts that make you feel safe and loved. Aging doesn't always mean you need to leave the place where your life story has unfolded. For Mildred, staying home was more than just a decision. It was a way to preserve her family's legacy and maintain the sense of belonging that had always been there. It's a beautiful reminder that the right place for you in your later years might just be the place that's been home all along.
Conclusion. As we've seen through these 6 incredible stories, aging doesn't mean giving up on the things that bring us joy, independence, or purpose. Whether it's adapting your lifestyle, embracing new technology, or staying connected with loved ones, there are countless ways to live life on your own terms, no matter your age. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you can relate to any of these stories or have your own experiences to share, drop a 9 or 0 in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more inspiring content. Until next time, take care and keep living your best life.